Okay, let's talk about so the NBA playoffs are happening right now. Not going to talk about this too much, but I'm kind of a Warriors fan. I mean, I was a Warriors fan for a long time, but when the NBA got super politicized, I sort of tuned out. But I still keep track a little bit. And I was watching a Warriors game, playoff game against the Kings the other day, and they were wearing a black uniform, and they've had black uniforms in the past, so this is not anything special. But I noticed that their uniform, it normally has a bridge to signify the Golden Gate Bridge or the Bay Bridge on it. But this time they had a flower in there. And I was super curious. I said, what the fuck does a flower have to do with California or the Bay Area or the
Hmm.
Warriors? It seems to have nothing to do with any of those. And so I Googled it, and wouldn't you know, it's the absolute worst thing that I didn't want to see. It is the Warriors commissioned some woman to make a logo about female empowerment, and that represents, I don't know, female excellence or their contributions to sport or something. And to be fair, it's not their normal uniform, but they wear it every now and then. Well, this is just moronic. What does female empowerment have to do with the NBA? There are no women playing in the NBA. So that's not particularly. I mean, if it was a WNBA team, that would make perfect sense. But what does it have to do with an NBA team? Women watch this sport. Well, very few, number one. And number two, just because you watch it, what does that mean? Is this empowering to watch basketball? You're just consuming entertainment. What's so empowering about that? That's stupid. Is it empowering when I watch Game of Thrones? Should Game of Thrones make a T-shirt that says male empowerment and Game of Thrones? That would make no sense, right? Because you're just watching entertainment. It has nothing to do with empowerment of a gender. But it's just, this woke pandering run amok, and just another example of it infecting something I have to look at, which is a sport, or I don't have to look at it, but something I used to watch a lot.
I don't know how much she got paid for that, but I'm almost positive that AI can do as well or
Oh,
better.
AI can do pretty much any graphic design at this point.
But yeah, I mean, if there's a little more thought also with the surrounding, then that's
However,
why I'm curious.
However, what you couldn't use AI because what they really want to do is pander, and you can't pander by saying, "Hey, we asked AI to create a female empowerment logo." Then of course people would ask, "Why didn't you pay a woman to do that?" And then
Yeah.
blah blah blah. So that's not an option. It sucks that so many things that we used to love and were apolitical, you have to be confronted with it at every goddamn turn. They can't just leave anything alone. And to wit, there was recently a news report of a famous coach, Phil Jackson. He coached the Bulls and the Lakers, and he said
Yeah, I
he
heard that.
doesn't watch
Yeah.
the NBA anymore. And this is a guy who's won 11 championships, and he said specifically that it got too political. He said people are not looking to, it's not enjoyable to have politics in your face when you just want to enjoy basketball. And he says he no longer really watches it. He just said, he
Okay.
didn't say that he hates their politics, right?
Yeah.
He himself is a pretty liberal person by all intents and by all indications based on what he's said in the past. And he's like a hippie. He just said he doesn't like how politicized it is. He didn't say he disagrees with the politics. He just doesn't think that it has a place there, and that makes it more enjoyable. And it doesn't make it more enjoyable and turns off a lot of people.
Yeah. It's actually a huge problem. I don't know if you heard what Vivek has said about this stuff, just about how the U.S. has lost. I think he was actually quoting somebody else, but he's talking about how since the U.S. is so culturally diverse, that it actually needs these apolitical centers for people to sort of unify.
Yeah,
And
that's a good point. Yeah.
yeah, and now we've lost. We're losing constantly these apolitical centers, and this is just one example.
Right. Because when you're so diverse, then, right, other countries that are more homogenous, they don't need them as much because people are just sort of naturally more unified, right? Everybody is similar to me.
Yep, yep, yep.
And so they don't need to figure out more artificial ways to unify.
Yeah.
Oh God, it infects everything, and a lot of people who would argue the other side, they would say, "Well, what's the big deal? It's awesome to empower women. It's awesome to highlight Black Lives Matter. These are important things. Blah blah blah. Are you against them? How could you be against them? Like this is just a basketball game. This is more important than your basketball game. Whatever." But in a way, they're wrong because they're missing just like you said, they're missing the idea that that having this apolitical space where people can just relax and not talk about politics and about our differences for once.
Yep.
That serves a very fundamental and important role. They're not acknowledging that that has any value. And
Yep.
they're missing the plot here because it has value. We're not saying that you should never be allowed to talk about women's empowerment or Black Lives Matter. We're not saying that. We're saying that we need spaces where we can just all relax and enjoy something and not talk about that.
Yeah. I mean, same with like video games too, right? It's
Yeah.
infested
Yeah.
with this stuff.
Yeah.